He was just asking about phones. Probably.
Game, otherwise I'd be scolding you.
Hey, it is 6:15. I'll call this order. Everybody, please stand, remove any hats, and let's recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Michelle, do a roll call, please.
Ricardo,
Here.
Rod, Joe Nelson, here. Victor Mathemer, here. Andy Mary,
Yes.
Kevin Solon, here. Andy Schreiber, here. David Schrader, Danny Pyatt.
Here. Item 2, citizens and delegations. We have Miss Lucy here with us tonight. She can give us her student representative report.
Okay, first I just wanted to apologize for not being at the last meeting. There was a little bit of a miscommunication and I know that we didn't have a report, so I just wanted to apologize for that. And then I'm just going to run through our agenda per usual with all the stuff in it. So the first thing is academics. We still have all the virtual classes in effect through Wisconsin Virtual Schools, senior English, and then geometry classes. And I don't think Spanish 4 ended up being a virtual class. I think they ended up morphing that with like a Spanish 3 class, and so they didn't have to go online. So that was a good thing for the Spanish 4 students. The junior class is preparing for their ACT, which is tomorrow at 8 a.m. I know they're all super nervous, but probably going to be excited to get it done with. 9th and 10th grade will also be taking the pre-ACT, and there will be makeups on April 4th. Which leads into the next thing. FFA is going to a regional career competition tomorrow. And so any students that are missing the ACT for the field trip will be retaking or taking their makeup on April 4th, along with the kids who missed the pre-ACT. And then special events. The phone policy will be in effect on the Monday coming back from spring break. Mr. Rogers and Mr. Sigmund have been meeting in the IMC, mostly with seniors, discussing the new policy and asking for volunteers to participate in the grade level meetings that were held today, where students were informed. There was a lot of questions that were answered. for staff and students alike, and so that's something new. The 6th through the 10th of April, I'm assuming, and there doesn't have a month, but it's Teacher Appreciation Week. I'm just gonna assume it's April. And then April 10th is Senior Portfolio Night. Or is it May?
It's May.
Oh, sorry guys, it's May. Thanks for letting me know. And then sports and clubs. Spring sports are in full effect pretty much. The softball girls are going to the Dallas for a tournament over spring break, I believe. No. What is it? I don't know. They have a tournament coming up in the Dallas. Sorry. I'm uninformed this time. And then track and field had a meet on Thursday, the 14th, and everyone did really well. I think kids are really excited. There's a lot of kids that participate in track, so that's kind of a big thing. One of the highlights from it was that Mackenzie Wisbacher set the new school record for triple jump, and this is the first time she's triple jumped in years. Like, she spent 3 days learning how to do triple jump and then broke the school record at the first meet that she competed in. So
Wow, let's give a hand for Mackenzie.
yeah, that's pretty much all I had. Sorry that it was so messy this time. I apologize. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Can I just piggyback off
Sure.
of what your sports report? The golf team also started, and I'm happy to say that we have, I believe, 4 girls on the golf team this spring, and if we can get a couple more, so tell your friends.
Are you a coach or is your daughter?
My daughter's on the golf team, yes.
I was gonna. We didn't have all of them listed. I mean, there's other spring sports like boys tennis.
No, that's okay.
Spring. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean that. Girls soccer started to.
Well, normally girls golf is in the fall, and if we get a couple more girls to come out for golf, we can actually have a girls team in the fall. So please tell your friends and teachers, please speak up, to your students and stuff, so we can get a girls team going for the fall. That'd be exciting.
Absolutely. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments for Lucy? I know the drama department just finished The Music Man. I hope that all of you had an opportunity to go and visit and see that. They did an awesome job this year. Any other questions or comments? Okay, thank you, Lucy. And Ava did inform us tonight that she had to work. That's why she's not here. Letter B, recognition. I will turn it over to our district administrator.
So I have a list of students that I will call down in just a second to receive your certificate. And once you have your certificate, if you would step out into the hallway so we can get a group photo, that would be fabulous because there's quite a few students. But I first want to inform everyone of something that I thought was very important. I had the director of the Senior Center approach me at the meet and greet, and she was very complimentary of the job that you did serving the seniors. And one of the things that she was very impressed with was the fact that when you finished serving all of the seniors, that instead of what people would typically expect seniors to do or students to do from the high school is to sit together, she said that each of you chose different tables with the seniors to sit down with them and engage in conversation. So I think that is additional testament to how wonderful our students are at Antigo High School. So thank you very much for the job that you did. And when I call your name, and I hope I don't mispronounce anyone's name, please come down and receive your certificate from Mr. Pyatt, Ava Tatro, Jim Chin, Lucy Slominski, Ava Jaji, Jake Verhasselt, Jenna Cerneski, Neva Malone, Nolan Bonnell, Lily Dewan, Javon Bussey, Maggie Baginski, Mackenzie Wisbrocker, Maribel Rivero, and Ben Robrecht. Please come forward, and thank you all for representing Antigo High School in a fine fashion.
Let's sing a song. Can we give one more hand to all of our students that went and served at the senior center? Our next item on the agenda is public comment, and we have a couple of people that have signed up. Just read the statement here. The presiding officer of each board meeting at which public comment is permitted shall administer the rules of the board for its conduct. The presiding officer shall be guided by the following rules. Public comment shall be permitted before the board takes official action on any issue of substance. Attendees must register their intention to comment in the public portion of the meeting upon their arrival at the meeting. Comments made by public shall be civil in content and tone, affirming the decorum established for school board meeting by the school board. Disparaging comments or remarks about school board members, employees, students, positions, position titles, and/or district citizens shall not be permitted. Comments by the public shall be in reference to a specific agenda item, and you must state the item that you are speaking toward. Participants must be recognized by the presiding officer and will be requested to preface their comments by an announcement of their name and group affiliation if and when appropriate. Each statement made by a participant shall be limited to 5 minutes duration, in which we will have the 5 minutes on the screen behind us that everybody can see that Dustin will put up. No participant may speak more than once on the same topic unless all others who wish to speak on that topic have been heard. Participants shall direct all comments to the board and not to staff or other participants. Participants shall address only topics within the legitimate jurisdiction of the board. All statements shall be directed to the presiding officer. No person may address or question board members individually. The presiding officer may interrupt, warn, or terminate a participant's statement when the statement is too lengthy, personally directed, abusive, obscene, or irrelevant. Request any individual to leave the meeting when that person does not observe reasonable decorum. Request the assistance of law enforcement officers in the removal of a disorderly person when that person's conduct interferes with orderly progress of the meeting. Call for a recess or an adjournment to another time when the lack of public decorum so interferes with the orderly conduct of the meeting as to warrant such action. The portion of the meeting during which the comment of public is invited shall be limited to 60 minutes unless extended by a vote of the board. Recording, filming, or photographing the board's open meetings by third parties is permitted pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute 19.90. The person operating the equipment should contact the district administrator prior to the board meeting to review possible placement of the equipment and must agree to abide by the following conditions: that no obstructions are created between the board and the audience, no interviews are conducted in the meeting room while the board is in session, and no commentary, adjustment of equipment, or positioning of operators is made that would distract either the board or members of the audience or otherwise disrupt the meeting while the board is in session. When you come to speak, please state your name and the item for which you are speaking to on the agenda. And also, you might need to spell your name for Mike, who's here representing the Antigo Daily Journal, because he wants to have record of your name as well. All right. Having said that, we have 2 people that have signed up. The first one is Glenn Siegman.
Glenn, if you want to come on down.
My name is Glenn Sigmund. The last name is Glenn with two N's, Sigmund, S-I-E-G-M. The topic I'm speaking, the agenda item I'm speaking on is item 2C, public comment. On December 18th, 2023, the board voted to restrict public comments to items on the agenda only. Since that date, 3 months ago, and please check my work on this, there hasn't been a single public comment in these board meetings. That may seem like a win for the school board, but it is a loss for the community, a loss for transparency, and a loss for accountability. The ability and the right to petition our government for a redress of grievances is a fundamental tenet of our form of government in this country. Already, I'm aware of at least one current student, Ethan Roberts, who has been denied the ability to publicly comment at this meeting during this public comment section simply because an agenda that you all control doesn't contain his area of concern. The ability of the public to comment at these meetings is essential to you all being held to account and to enforce transparency of elected officials. You all now have plans to ask the taxpayers for tens of millions of dollars to either build or upgrade a new elementary school. How can the public in this community be expected to trust this current board or this current leadership when at every step of the way you voted to reduce transparency and are unable to even properly retain and respond to open records requests in a reasonable and timely manner? That's a lot of money to manage with little to no transparency and the inability for them to petition to redress their grievances.
Thank you, Glenn. Okay, the next person that has signed up to speak is Andy Mary.
Okay, so I was sick it's Andy Mary, and I'm speaking on Fund 46.
Andy, where is that on the agenda?
Well, Danny, I guess it's not actually on the agenda, and I was hoping that because I was sick last month, you would let me make a few comments.
Well, the rules of the public comment that the board voted for is you must speak to an item on the agenda. I can vote, I can have a vote of the board if they would allow you to speak and let the board decide their wishes.
Okay, that's fine with me.
Okay? If you're in favor of Andy speaking on, I'd like a roll call vote. Michelle will do a roll call vote. If you're in favor of Andy speaking on Fund 46, you can say yes. If you're not in favor, then you can say no. Does everybody understand the vote?
Bobby Brown? Yes. Jill Madden Nelson? No. Kristen Matt Miller? Yes. Catherine Solon? No. Angie Schreiber? Yes. Danny Pyatt?
No.
Dr. Dave Bardot?
No.
Do I ask Andy Mary?
At this point, no.
Okay.
So can you just disclose?
Can anyone speak to what they did?
Just a moment how they.
It's 4-3. No.
4 no and 3 yes. Okay.
Can I ask why Andy wanted to have a vote?
He's the one speaking, giving the presentation at that point, not a board member. He's a public member. Let's just move on. Item 3, consent agenda, letter A, approval of agenda, minutes, and financial reports, request for overnight travel, report of district retirements and resignations, and report of district new hires. I will be looking for a motion.
I move the board approve the agenda minutes from the February 19th, 2024 Board of Education meeting, March committee meeting minutes, district retirement resignation report, report of district new hires, request for overnight travel, financial reports for February 2024 and March 2024, consideration of current bills, checks numbers 7774 through 7845 in the amount of $866,983.70, ACHs numbers 232400864 through 232400947 in the amount of $580,533.78, and wire transfers in the amount of $195,376.89, for a total of $1,642,894.37.
Motion has been made by Jill. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Just getting this to pull up. I'd like to draw special attention to retirements, notably 26 years, 32 years, 28 years, and 34 years. Significant dedication to our district, and I would like to ensure that that is recognized, and thank you on behalf of our board. Additionally, we have another resignation of 10 years, so we also appreciate your dedication to our district.
Thank you so much. Would anybody like to speak to the motion on the floor?
Yes.
Roberto?
Michelle, I'll be voting yes, but I abstain on check 7856.
The abstention is so noted. Anybody else like to speak? All right, hearing no one, the voting device is now open. If you're in favor of the motion on the floor, you vote yes. If you're not in favor, you vote no. Would anybody like to change their vote? The vote is now closed, and the motion carries. Item number 4, administration reports. I will turn this over to our district administrator, Mrs. Ojenski.
The first report, the Director of Business Services attached. Do you have questions about her report? If none, the next admin report is the Director of Pupil Services and Special Education. Mrs. Burkhan will come forward and introduce our Raise Your Voice Club.
All right, good evening. So we have Miss Amanda Moore here tonight. She is the staff leading the Raise Your Voice Club, and she has a few members with her tonight. She'll introduce them, and they're going to talk to you about the April 26th Self-Care Day for students in the Antigo High School.
Good evening. So I have 4 students here. One is out sick, unfortunately, so I'll be taking her slide as well. But I have Kaylin, Trinity, Ashley, and Lexus here tonight to talk about Raise Your Voice, what we've done this year, and where we're going.
Please be sure to talk into the microphone. Thank you.
This is Antigo's first year of having this club. We have 8 consistent members, and we've had many opportunities. Our purpose is empowering teenagers to initiate a transformative dialogue on mental health through educational initiatives, leadership, cultivation, and civic ethics. We had our meeting. Sorry. We had a meeting with Governor Tony Evers. Now, our Raise Your Voice clubs had the opportunity to engage in discussion with Governor Evers regarding the importance of addressing mental health issues among the youth population. So a couple of weeks ago, we did a middle school assembly where we addressed the 7th grade students, emphasizing the significance of kindness and acceptance, highlighting their profound impact on individuals who may not often experience such gestures.
We recently had the opportunity to travel to Madison, 5 students with the Antigo Raise Your Voice dedicated a day to activities in Madison. Initially, the students received guidance on articulating new narratives effectively and presenting a specific request to the legislators, advocating for the increased mental health resources within schools. Then we were separated off by districts, and we were able to meet with the aides of both Senator Felzowski and Representative Callahan. During this time, each student was given the opportunity to share their story and leave their ask, as what they were taught during our initial meetings. And they also were able to receive a tour of the Capitol building. So we were exhausted after that day.
Our April 26th Self-Care Day. Why? The opportunity teaches our students safe and healthy coping skills and or hobbies, and work also brings awareness that they are not alone and that there is help. 9% of our students had to come to high school high or drunk during the 2021 school year. 58% of our students felt that bullying was a problem at Antigo High School. 56% of our students reported having significant struggles with anxiety during the 2021 school year, up 4% from the previous school year. 19% of the Antigo High School students seriously considered suicide. 9% had attempted it in 2020. What we have done, we have partnered with several businesses to offer different rotations to our students, such as the Boys and Girls Club, the Public Health Department, Unified Material Arts, Daybell, Creative Phoenix, Yoga Options, NTC, and many more.
I've been working on the logistics of this day. What we will be doing is we will be starting our rotations with first hours, so that would be the 8:53, and we would be concluding our rotations at 1:23, so the end of fifth hour. Following our regular bell schedule, and then during 6th and 7th hour, all students are going to be participating in the Green Bandana training. And what that is it's just a training for adolescents and identifying like how to support a friend that's in crisis until a safe adult can get there. So by no means is this telling them how to take care of the crisis. It's until a safe adult can get there. Staff members are going to have the opportunity to select their rotations, and then any that are remaining will be allocated. Class sizes I'm capping at about 25, but there are a few that are okay having more. They're comfortable with the number of students to their individuals. There are a few rotations that will actually be 2 rotations. We'll be having a movie, Inside Out, in the fall, and then canvas painting. So that's going to take more than 45 minutes to complete. And then, so upon returning from spring break, the students will receive a Google worksheet to sign up for their preferred sessions. I started calculating that today just because some of our individuals are only, like the Boys and Girls Club can only commit to 4th and 5th hour. And so kind of finding out where our rotations are going to fall. And then the Raise Your Voice subcommittees are assisting in organizing participants who have signed up, and those that will require assignment. Obviously, if we have students that haven't signed up, that will be configured by the data off the Google worksheets, and then they'll be assigned to classes or rotations that have openings in them. So that is.
Does anybody have any questions for Mrs. Moore?
I do. When you spoke with Senator Felzowski and Callahan's aides, did you use data specific to Antigo, or was this kind of like a group with the other schools?
So adults weren't allowed to talk. This was just for the students. This was just for our students. So our students don't necessarily have data. They are sharing their personal experiences. This was Antigo's first year going, so we were just getting our toes wet, I guess. And we are the only new club in the region, so I think they forgot that we were new and we didn't get much prep. But a lot of the focus was on the number of school counselors or school social workers to students and that ratio, and how so many times the kids are having to say, oh, well, your struggles are more important than mine, so take my time slot, and just needing that additional support was really the common theme between the students that were speaking.
Okay. And how was the response from our legislative aides?
It was amazing. The young lady that was unable to come tonight, is an 8th grader. So she is the youngest by far in our group. And I think of her a lot with this question because she was terrified to sit at the table, but she talked and shared some of her story. And afterwards, the senator's aide actually pulled her aside and talked to her and thanked her and told her she did a great job. And so they're really engaged with our students, really actively listening. And I feel like our students and the other districts also felt heard by them.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions or comments?
I'd just like to say thank you to Amanda for kicking this off. I think it's extremely important.
Thank you, ladies.
We give a hand for the session. I'm sure we would all echo Bobby's sentiments, Amanda, for all of your hard and extra work you're doing. Thank you.
Next, we have the Director of Curriculum and Instruction. Report is attached. Do you have questions? Next is the Director of Buildings and Grounds. Report is attached. Are there any questions? Following is the Superintendent Report. It is attached. I will hit some highlights. Some of the things that have been consuming a lot of our time, mine along with my team, is we are still working through right-sizing our district. So we have spent a lot of time trying to determine our staffing needs for the 24-25 school year. Also, Ms. Stutzring has been very busy with building principals, and Ms. Burkhan preparing for the ACT, pre-ACT, and forward. Those things start tomorrow, as Lucy shared with us tonight. And another big thing that has taken a lot of time is preparing for the screening for the high school principal applicants. We will begin those questions in a round robin fashion tomorrow night here at the high school, and then we will wrap it up on Wednesday night and hope to be able to have a decision made either before we leave for spring break or the week of spring break, because we will be in the office working. Questions? Okay, thank you.
Mrs. Jinsky, could you just point out the next facilities task force meeting?
Oh,
So
yes.
that's on record.
Yes, so our next facilities task force meeting will be April 3rd here in the Media Tech Room, and it begins at 6:15. I encourage everyone to attend that is able to be part of the process so that your voice can also be heard about the future of our district.
Thank you so much. Okay, moving on to board action, item number 5. Letter A, consideration to approve the co-curricular salary schedule. I'll be looking for a motion, please.
I move the board to approve the co-curricular salary step schedule, which includes back pay for the 2023-24 school year.
Motion has been made by Dr. Bardo. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes, Mr. Schofield came to our committee meeting 2 weeks ago, brought the salary schedule with him, and talked to us. I know he worked with Kelly, our business manager, to get this updated, which will give our sports coaches and our club advisors additional pay for all the extra time that they put in with our students after the regular school day is over.
Would anybody else like to speak to the motion on the floor? Angie, go ahead.
I'm just curious if somebody can explain, I guess, what I'm looking at with the advisory coaches appendix. I guess I'm not sure like what the steps mean. Like, I know it says that it's based off of a base salary, but like, I'm just, can you explain to me kind of what the steps are meaning?
I don't
problem. Yes, so the steps that it's referring to, we kind of talked about this, in the financial committee. We have a list of all the activities and all the advisors and coaches, and they are all labeled out from step 1 all the way through step 7. And we discussed in our committee, these haven't been looked at in a long time either.
Right.
So I am looking to get a committee together to go over and try to figure out the placing, because some of these, especially advisors, some things change throughout the years. Some are doing more, some aren't doing as much. So we want to revisit and see where all they will align on steps. And then after that, we'll come back, but it would still go off of this pay schedule, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Tom, when you talked to us, you basically said that when this was made back in the day, it was based on the time. So like, for example, maybe if football season was longer than, I'm not sure. So I don't know.
For the sports coaches, yes, a lot of it was based off of WIA days, the start of season to end of season dates. So obviously, some sports last a lot longer than others. And so that was all taken into consideration when these steps were made. And then I know back in, about 2013 to 2015-ish, when Matt Morank was the athletic director, he sent out a Google survey to all the coaches. We filled everything out, how much we do, like what our days look like and everything. And then they kind of looked at it, but I don't think they really did much with the advisors at that point in time. I know that Katie Ann sent out a Google form before she left, and we're trying to figure that stuff out. But the biggest thing we want first was to get this pay salary scale done, and then we can go back and revisit and kind of look at where all the positions are and what steps, and try to move some around if we feel that would be fit to get done.
Thank you.
Yep.
Jill, I believe you had a question.
Yeah, so is this currently for head coaches and lead advisors?
This is currently for everybody. So there's like about 125, 130 contracts that falls under this schedule. So it's not just, it goes from advisors to the musical to marching band, choir, all of it is all in that.
Thank you.
My question is just that if the adjustments are made according to this schedule and some of these positions get bumped around, then how do you adjust the pay?
Well, then we would have to look at, what the total amount in that co-curricular salary budget is, which was $252, I think, right now. And then I was asking, and it's going to be probably about $12,000 more just the current year. But again, that all depends too on the year's experience, because if we have somebody only that's brand new and they're 0 to 2 experience, that's a big different pay than somebody that's 6+. So that's how the budget will kind of fluctuate. But it will definitely could have an effect on the total amount of money that after we look at it. I guess there are definitely some that I feel like need to be moved around a little bit. Some I think are good. But that's what I don't want just myself to decide. That's why I'm hoping to, get the committee, really dig deep, look at it, and try to figure out so that way, like we all know, the people that take these positions, they go above and beyond, right? Like this is not part of their, salary that they're banking on. Like this is the co-curriculars, this is our advisors and coaches that build those great relationships with all of our students, all of our student athletes. And we want to make sure that they're aligned as best as we can. There's a lot of different spreadsheets that I already have from other activities athletic directors on how much pay they have from surrounding districts, from big to small to in between. So there's a lot of background data that we can look at to try to adjust it and make it to fit what we need.
So what is the plan with the committee going forward? Do you have a time frame?
I do not have a time frame. I'm glad that we're getting the pay scale looked at right now. I would hope to put it together before summer. and try to get it rolling. I mean, the objective would be to get it before the new year, before the fall schedules come out. So, yeah, I mean, I would like to try to do this, very quickly. Definitely get a committee done by the end of the school year for sure. Get some dates set up and then bring it back either hopefully, you know, probably June would probably have to be, because we're already going into sports by the end of July. Contracts would be going out, like it's gonna quick turnover.
Yeah, Tom, I would, as the head of finance, I would suggest that you back pay them based on what we approve tonight. Run it through this school year and then make an attempt to get your committee together to any moves with the numbers. So that going into next school year, if there are big changes, we'll just deal with it.
Yep, that sounds good.
Okay?
Who do you anticipate on your committee?
Well, I would like to have, obviously, some people from the district office. I'll probably, Kelly on it. I would also ask some of our long-term advisors or coaches to give input on it. And, obviously, if we've been in it a long time, I probably also ask my assistant, Beth Decker, who deals with a lot of the advisors and coaches as I do, and get her input. And then if there's any other suggestions, anybody else who wants to be on it, I'm all open.
I appreciate your feedback. I have received some feedback from this going to committee, so I will share on behalf of others as well that thank you for taking the time to look at this and really intentionally review it. As we know, coaches and advisors don't do it for the money. That said, the base pay and the scale that we currently use also doesn't reflect all of the above and beyond that they do for our district. We know how important co-curriculums are for achievement. So thank you, and thank you to the finance committee.
Is there a cap for like how many additional roles like current staff can take on, or is there?
Just as many as long as there's time.
Okay. And then I was looking at the list, and golf, it says for high school, and then it says JV. Do we have one or two golf coaches?
We have two golf coaches. Mike McCann is our head varsity coach, and John Reeds is our JV coach.
Am I just missing where the varsity coach for golf?
There's a varsity coach it is on step 5. Golf.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah,
I thought maybe we were just missing. I was like, I thought we had two.
No, we got 2, yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
No problem.
Are there any other questions for Mrs. Schofield? Be sure to thank Beth, because I know that she's put a lot of time and effort into this, and the rest of your staff. Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other questions of the motion on the floor? Hearing no questions, the voting device is now open. You are voting to approve the co-curricular salary step schedule that is included in your packet. Would anybody like to change their vote? The vote is now closed, and the motion carries. Thank you. Letter B, consideration to approve the CDW bid for touch screen Chromebooks. I will be looking for a motion.
I move the board to approve the bid for CDW in the amount of $33,125 for touchscreen.
Motion has been made by Catherine. Would you like to speak to your motion, please?
This is just part of our yearly rotation for student Chromebooks.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on the motion on the floor? Hearing no questions or comments, the voting device is now open. If you are in favor of the motion to approve this bid for CDW. Would anyone like to change their vote? Vote is now closed, and the motion carries. Item C, consideration to approve the CDW bid for 2024-2025 Chromebooks. I will be looking for a motion.
I move
Move the board to approve the bid for CW in the amount of $82,440 for the 2024-2025 Chromebooks.
Motion has been made by Catherine. Would you like to speak to your motion?
This is also
Would anyone like to speak to the motion on the floor?
These Chromebooks will go to fourth graders and ninth graders. They're supposed to last them 4 years.
Anyone else have a question on the motion on the floor? Hearing no questions, the voting device is now open. Would anyone like to change their vote? The vote is now closed. And the motion carries. Letter D, consideration to approve Vanguard Inc. bid for staff laptops. I will be looking for a motion.
move the board to approve the bid from Vanguard in the amount of $29,655 for the 2024-2025 staff laptops.
Motion has been made by Catherine. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Also part of the yearly rotation for staff.
Would anyone like to speak to the motion on the floor? Hearing none, the vote is now open for the motion on the floor. Would anyone like to change their vote? The vote is now closed, and the motion carries. Letter E, consideration to approve quote from Camera Corner Connecting Point for security cameras. I will be looking for a motion, please.
I move the board to approve the quote from Camera Corner / Connecting Point in the amount of $35,450.50 for security cameras.
Motion has been made by Dave. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Mark said that this would be 18 more security cameras.
Any discussion on the item on the floor? Hearing no discussion, the voting device is now open. Would anyone like to change their vote? The vote is now closed. Motion carries. Letter F, consideration to approve 2024-2025 contract with Donovan Group. I will be looking for a motion, please.
I'm going to make a motion. The item on the agenda says that we would be paying $36,000.
Can you state your motion, please?
I move the board to approve the 2024 through 2027 contract with Donovan Group for 3 years at a cost of $32,400 per year, which is a savings of $10,800 to the district.
Motion has been made by Dave. Would you like to speak to your motion? Any discussion on the motion on the floor?
I guess I should. It's basically saving us $3,600 per year, and with a 3-year contract, that's $10,800. Both Mrs. Oginski and Mrs. Zarumski have stated that they have found that we can get a lot of additional work from the Donovan Group, and what they are seeing that is coming into them. They like what they're seeing.
Any other discussion on the motion on the floor?
Sorry. We're also getting rid of any duplicates, correct? We're finding out the Donovan Group is doing a lot of things we're paying other groups to do, so we're nixing those contracts to move forward.
Correct. There is another company that we will be eliminating their services that we pay for similar services that Donovan Group already does for us.
And does that contract end at the end of this school year? Oh.
It was renewed for like 3 years, and we have already reached out to them about breaking the contract.
Okay. Any other discussion on the motion on the floor?
Before I vote, I will be voting in favor. And would just like to share that in the past, I have not been as supportive to the Donovan Group, not understanding what their role is and what we're paying for. I do think, based off of further discussion and really digging into what is available to us through that contract, that we may have likely been underutilizing our contract. And as a result, have learned how we can best utilize the funds that are going towards the vote for their services. So for those reasons and learning that we've underutilized and can certainly utilize them far more effectively and get a better quote bang for your buck, I will be voting in favor. I always like to explain where I'm coming from on my vote.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak to the motion on the floor? Hearing no discussion, the voting device is now open. Would anyone like to change their vote? The vote is now closed. And the motion carries. Letter G, consideration to approve an EL coordinator, EL teacher. I will be looking for a motion, please.
I move the board to approve an EL coordinator, EL teacher position.
Motion has been made by Jill. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Briefly, but I'd like to call up Ms. Setstrom to come up. I think that'd be most appropriate. I think that this came to committee, and I'm asking Ms. Amy to speak to it because it would be a new position. To make sure I don't get anything incorrect. But it was brought to committee, voted to bring to full board.
Ms. Sensory?
So we have a growing population of students who are qualifying as EL and needing EL services, which are English language, ELL, in Wisconsin. So we dropped one of the L's. Now we just say EL. How students are identified is when they enroll, they go through a home, like a language screener. So they have to put on there that at home they speak a different language as their first language. And then we do a screener to see if that student would qualify for needing EL services. So what we're finding is that we have a growing population in the past years of our EL speakers within our community here in Antigo. And we've actually hit at our elementary schools, we're above the 10 student kind of threshold that DPI has to offer a bilingual bicultural program. So at the elementary, we're over the 10 students that are identified as EL, which is a great opportunity for us to help support these students. What they do is every year they have to take the access testing as well, which is like the forward, but for EL students, they do take the forward as well. And the ACT, pre-ACT, but it's another assessment we do based on their language acquisition. So how they speak, how they understand English, the vocabulary, all the pieces and the components that support our EL learners. So with an EL coordinator, which we did have a 0.25, I think, EL coordinator who ended up leaving. So what that did is that made me the EL coordinator and having to do all the access testing. You do need training for that. I do have my EL license, so I was able to support in that capacity. But having somebody be able to do the access testing, do the screeners when we get new families in, and provide instruction to those students from 4K all the way to 12th grade would be such an asset for our community. This person would also help to build capacity around our families, help them become engaged in the learning and the education here that we provide to our students, and help them become a part of our community that we feel, and I feel that we have left out. A lot of our EL students are identified as having a Spanish background, so not all EL students have Spanish, but our biggest component of EL learners are Spanish, and so having that is also a benefit because we can help support families and students with this person. We are hoping to have a person apply that has EL license or a bilingual bicultural license and Spanish, since that's our significant language that we have here in Antigo, which would help because a lot of our teachers don't speak Spanish. So we just had another student come and enroll with no Spanish, or no English, I'm sorry, and how scary it is for a family to just drop your 4K or kindergarten student off at a building where no one speaks the language and he doesn't speak any English. He's raising his student achievement right now and he's doing great, but to offer somebody who's right there in the school to help co-teach with our teachers, to pull the students out into EL lessons, not just on language, but cultural lessons for those students and help them to be able to understand what is happening around them is going to be such an asset. So That's why we brought it to the board, is because we feel like our population, we can't let our population get ahead of us where we don't have those supports, and then we're trying to backpedal and try to fix that. But we have to be where we are, and our student population, especially in the Spanish language, is increasing. Any questions?
When we do testing, like forward testing, is it done in their native language?
So really interesting question. So no and yes. So this is the first year that the Forward has offered a stacked Spanish accommodation. So we're trying it this year for the first time, which means that you can choose on the accommodation. So everything can be written in English and Spanish, and you can choose to have it then read to you in English or read to you in Spanish. So that's very exciting. So before it was just always English, you'd have text to speech and it would just read to you in English, which does not help if you are new to country or you're here and you don't speak that language. So this is the first year that that's offered, but it's offered only in Spanish at this point. And I've talked to DPI because we do have EL learners who speak Japanese and Hmong in our district, and those are not accommodations yet on the Forward. Pre-ACT, ACT, they can have the directions read to you as an accommodation in a different language. And also on both assessments, I believe there's an accommodation to have a dictionary. So you would be able to have a dictionary, an English to your language dictionary that you could use to look up words if you're needing like a vocabulary word or something like that. So that's what we have so far in those assessments.
But those, ACT is not given in Spanish?
Nope. In the future, maybe. Right now, it's very tricky. I mean, the kids are nervous that I've talked to that are rolling into the ACT tomorrow and are still struggling with the English language. That's a huge undertaking to take when it's high level, it's critical thinking, it's like inferencing and all those components that are at a higher level than just understanding the English language. But they're going to do their best.
Oh, I was gonna just have one more comment. Yeah, when we were at the WASB delegate convention, this was one of the things that was brought up about having them tested in their native language. It didn't go anywhere.
Yeah, so we do FastBridge. The FastBridge assessment at the early reading level is in Spanish. So you can give the Spanish so that you can have an account to understand like where your students, that baseline data that we do with all of our students. I gave all the FastBridge testing in Spanish. I also speak Spanish, so I gave it to our Spanish speakers in Spanish because it's important to know where they are regardless of language, so that when we help them increase their English, that's a good baseline to start. So we do offer that in the FastBridge that we do 3 times a year, and we'll offer that again in spring. When we do FastBridge, those students we kind of see where they are. If we think we can go to the English version of the assessment, then great. If we need to still do the Spanish, that's okay, because we can still track their growth on letters, sounds, numbers, and those components. So we do offer that for FastBridge.
Is there a time adjustment for these assessments? If for example, if you have to use a dictionary, if you have to take time to look at that.
Yeah. Yes.
That takes off.
So the Forward is untimed, so our students can take as long as they want. I also spoke with DPI the other day, and they gave us access for our students who don't have a lot of English speaking right now to offer the scribe in Forward. So which means I can speak to a person, an adult who's been trained. I speak to them in English, and they type it for me. So they have to type exactly what comes out of my mouth, even if it's a mistake, they have to type it exactly. So that's an opportunity that they have as well. So the Forward's untimed, they have as much time as they need to take. The pre-ACT, ACT, it can be written into, every EL learner has an ILP, which is an individual learning plan, basically like an IEP for a student with special needs. It's an ILP, which means accommodations, and you can write in there for the pre-ACT and ACT. It goes by percentage, so like 100 times, 100% more, or 200% more time, or 300% more time. So that can be an accommodation if we think that that's something that student needs.
Will this position be for all classes from K through 12?
Yes, so for K through 12, right now the majority of our elementary students are at West Elementary that are EL identified. So that would be a majority of where a lot of the time would be spent, but would service all students through the 12th grade. Yep.
Can you, looking at your position analysis, can you touch a little bit about the revenue associated with the financial impact? It talks about state categorical aid.
Yes. So,
and what does this look like for us financially? I just think that's information.
Yep, so there's two parts of that, I guess. When we're looking at the financial and the right sizing of our district and staffing, we're looking at that piece of if we have to, if we don't need a section anymore, our enrollment's down, right? That could be a teacher then, that it would just kind of shift, so we wouldn't have any financial, like, that we have to allot for that. However, if we do offer the bilingual bicultural program, that's something we can go through DPI, which we'd have to create a program plan. We're working with CISA 2 to help us out with that. If we can get that into implementation, and there's some components and requirements around that to actually be a bilingual bicultural program at a school, then they offer that state categorical aid, which is, I think, when I just checked probably 2 weeks ago, it was 5 to 7% of whatever we put into that program. So we have to follow all the DPI requirements in order to even look for that allotment back. But that's where it sits right now.
Any other questions? Hearing no questions, the voting device is now open for the motion on the floor to approve this new teacher position. Would anyone like to change their vote? The vote is now closed, and the motion carries.
Mr. Pyatt, point of order, just a question.
What is your point of order?
Well, I see that Mackenzie has joined us, and she was supposed to be here, and I'm guessing she was at track. I'm just guessing. And, well, soccer. Oh, I didn't know that. Anyway, she was supposed to be recognized in the student group early, and then Lucy mentioned that she set a school record in the triple jump in her first attempt, and we all clapped, and you missed it. So why don't you come on down? Good to see you in that coat. Picking up to .7.
So Mackenzie, you missed the recognition, but the big part was Mrs. McCann from the Senior Center complimented all of our students for how genuine they were. And when you finished serving the seniors, then instead of you all sitting together as high school students, each of you chose to sit with seniors, and she was very impressed with that. So thank you for your wonderful contribution and for being awesome.
Thank you, Dave, for that point of order. Letter H, consideration to approve Start College Now program. I will be looking for a motion, please.
I move the board to approve the Start College Now program applicants in the fall 2024 semester.
Motion has been made by Jill. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes, this is also brought to committee, and it comes to the full board yearly for approval. Start College Now is the program through the tech.
Would anyone like to speak to the motion on the floor?
I just want to say that I will be abstaining because my daughter is going to be taking school classes, so I will abstain.
Okay. Any other questions, discussion on the motion on the floor? Hearing none, the vote is now open. Would anyone like to change their vote? The vote is now closed. And all in favor with Angie abstaining from the vote. Letter I, consideration to approve the MOU with Sowing Seeds LLC. I will be looking for a motion.
I move the board to approve to enter into an MOU with Sowing Seeds LLC at the elementary level.
Motion has been made by Jill. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes, it's also brought to committee with approval to send to full board. So the provider was Sowing Seeds. Were you going to say something?
No.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Looking through my life.
First of all, it's not it's not a contracted provider. We don't have any financial obligation. This provider just simply, we're providing the space for them to come in to provide mental health services on site in a safe and private space. So the provider just simply is going independent from the company they were previously with. They are still providing services within our district. So the MOU is really just to reflect that provider going on her own to continue the services currently in place through an outside provider.
Any other discussion on the motion on the floor?
I just want to say, I'm in favor of this, so I'd be voting yes, but the reason being is because I just think it's important for us in the community to realize that the school district's role is to provide education. And our job is not to provide mental health services. That is for professionals that are specifically trained in this area. We can refer out, but again, that is not the school district's role to take. We are here to teach and educate. That's all.
Thank you, Angie. Anyone else like to speak to the motion on the floor?
So this would be a partnership that we have, just to make that clear. As I said earlier, it's not a district-funded position. It's simply we're providing the physical space. And because it reduces barriers for our students, because a provider comes here as opposed to a parent coming to school to pick up their child, which is more time out of school. So it's a significant benefit to the families, and they've been very receptive to it. And so then I also just reiterate that this MOU is to continue with our current provider that is already providing this service, but just updating the MOU to reflect her own agency. So thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing no discussion, the voting device is now open. Would anyone like to change their vote? The vote is now closed, and the motion passes. Item 6, closed session. Consideration of a motion to adjourn into closed session pursuant to section 19.851 of the Wisconsin statutes for the purpose of considering C, employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. I will be looking for a motion. Motion has been made by Jill. Would you like to speak to your motion? Any discussion on the motion on the floor? Hearing no discussion, Michelle, we'll do a roll call vote, please.
Matt Nelson?
Yes.
Matt Miller? Yes. Andy Mary?
Yes.
Kathy Solon? Yes. Cindy Schreiber? Yes. Dave Bardot?
Yes.
Abby Braun? Yes. Andy Hyde?
Yes. We are now in closed session.